Welcome back to Danielle Otteri's Italy. So, some of my episodes are adventures into history and encounters with people and places, both new and familiar. And then others, like this one, are dedicated to more of the nuts and bolts of trip planning. I want to discuss a topic that has many questions and many answers, and that is how to work with a travel agent or travel advisor. How does this whole industry even work? Maybe you're worried that, it costs a fortune. Only rich people work with travel advisors. Or the opposite, you're worried that you're just going to get some kind of packaged tour and you want something really unique and authentic and you don't want something that's just, a template. So if you feel confused by this topic, it's because the industry is huge and it's constantly changing and there isn't any one standard. And also, there are a lot of people on social media, influencers in particular, that are just adding to the confusion. So, in this episode, I'm going to explain everything to you. But just one caveat, this is especially for travel professionals that may be listening. Everybody has their own take on things. So if I'm not describing your exact business model, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm trying to address the big ones, the common ones, and then I will also explain how I work. And so this conversation is for the purpose of creating clarity for people who are just getting started. So let's start with traditional travel agents. These are agents with offices that are perhaps filled with brochures, and they earn most of their income through commissions. And there aren't a ton of these folks anymore, though more exist than you think would. This model used to be the industry standard. Picture Tula in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, with all the brochures in the office with the landline. People would take home those brochures and pore over them for months looking at photos and destinations. And those brochures still exist, but they tend to be more now for resorts, Disney vacations, and cruises. In the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a monumental shift in the travel industry. And that's when all of the services of a traditional travel agent started to move to websites like Expedia, Travelocity, Priceline. Now, travel agents still exist because it's pretty amazing to have somebody do everything for you. Just take care of all of the details. And yes, even if you could technically do it yourself, sometimes it's worth it to just have somebody take it off your hands. And these travel agents don't charge for their time. Instead, they earn commissions. And as such, their specialty are pre-packaged products, pre-priced itineraries. I can't believe I just said two of those things without sounding like Donald Duck. And set itineraries. So again, cruises, Disney vacations, hotels that are within networks, mass market travel. That's how they earn their money. So for an Italy trip, there's always going to be the classic Venice, Florence, Rome trip. There's usually going to be a Sorrento piece as an add-on. And, they'll customize day trips, a day trip to Pompeii, maybe a cooking class. Now you'll find a Puglia and Matera route or a Sicily route with a base in Taormina. And again, there are usually customizable options available, but those extra tours and activities are booked via the agent access to Viator or Get Your Guide. And they earn a commission there as well. So those are platforms that you can use online yourself. However, I avoid them. The reason is they take 25 to 30% from the local supplier. The agent usually gets 8 to 12% of that. And what that means is that the tour providers, the people on the ground, are giving up quite a bit of money, and the people who are often best at what they do don't want to do that. Again, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm sure there are some fantastic providers on Viator, but not the ones that I know, okay? Now, those websites have amazing cancellation policies for the customer, but they also make it really, really difficult for a small business to operate. And so it seems like a really great deal for the consumer, and it might be in regards to very flexible cancellation policies or prices, but you're not necessarily getting the best experience. Now, the model of the traditional travel agent is convenient if you want someone else to book everything for you and you really don't want to pay a fee. It feels like it's free. It's not free. There's a built-in commission, of course, but you're getting off-the-shelf experiences that are available to anyone. And these agents, of course, are going to prefer chain hotels or hotels within commissionable networks where they have set prices based on doing a large volume of booking. These networks absolutely shape the advice that you are given. For example, there are very few commissionable hotels in Naples, but there are many of them in Sorrento. So, really, since the post war period, Sorrento has been a destination that really got its act together very well for mass market packaged tourism. And so a lot of the Naples is dangerous stereotype is really, really outdated for many reasons. But part of it is that it's still the result of an industry that needs you to stay in Sorrento where they can earn a commission. Now, let's talk about travel advisors. That's the category where I sit. And this is also where things can get really confusing because there are many different options. But the good news is you can find exactly the type of service that you're looking for. So, travel advisors can be either totally independent, like I am, or they can work for a firm or part of a network or an agency. Maybe you've heard of something called Fora. That's where a lot of independent people have their own sort of agency access. These networks will give people access to commissionable hotels and experiences, and they do tend to be more curated and less mass market. And also, advisors may have specialties. So, some focus on luxury cruises, the smaller yachts that go to destinations like the Aeolian Islands, for example. Some people focus on safaris. Safaris are a huge piece of business in the world of tourism, and there are lots of different companies, different amenities, and there are travel advisors that really know the ins and outs of the safari industry. Some travel advisors may have a more broad focus. So, for example, luxury travel is a very big category. But then within that, there are folks who are familiar with all of the best five-star properties across the world. Some specialize in private jet travel. Others know where all the helipads are because their clients are folks who never want to deal with trains or traffic, and so they only choose to travel to places where they can arrive by helicopter. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But I know people who do this. Travel advisors tend to have a greater depth of knowledge about the places that they are recommending, but again, it varies. So, if you're looking for a fairly standard itinerary with some customization, like a private tour of a Parmigiano factory or a Tuscany wine tasting, these advisors can handle that no problem. Now, a lot of travel advisors do still earn their money primarily from commissions, but their portfolio of hotels will generally be higher end, more boutique hotels, and they may also charge a fee. Very often they do for all of the additional consulting, educating you about the location, maybe finding unique experiences that are not part of commissionable networks. They might be doing some other specific research to fulfill a request that you have, like maybe ancestry research. They don't work only from off the shelf experiences. Really, it's a combination of both. Now, if your goal is to experience Italy off the beaten path, you need an advisor who is deeply specialized and charges for their time because it's not possible to earn commissions if they're sending you to these less popular places. So, parts of the Langhe Valley to parts of Umbria, Cilento. I mean, really everything beyond the most famous stuff. So that's how I work. I'm highly specialized. I only deal with Italy and nothing else. Advisors who work like I do either charge a flat fee for the whole trip, or they do a per day fee based on the complexity of the trip and how many people are going on it. So if they're organizing a group trip, for example, or a family trip, a multi-generational family trip, the cost could be anywhere from $250 a day to $500 a day. They may choose to add a markup based on the total bill. Again, all of these approaches are totally legit. It's not a matter of one being better than the other. It's really just based on how the travel advisor chooses to work and account for their time. Advisors that work across many locations still tend to have specialties. So even if somebody does Mexico, Spain, Italy, Greece, Japan, they try to educate themselves about these destinations from what are called FAM trips, and that is short for familiarization trips. It's an education-focused journey for travel professionals organized by destination marketing companies, by consortia, tourism boards, travel suppliers, hotels, cruises, tour operators. It's a very wide variety. And the purpose is to help the travel advisor experience the country, the resort, or brand firsthand. And that's so that they can recommend it to their clients with confidence. So, for example, an advisor might spend a week in a destination touring multiple hotels, sampling restaurants, visiting cultural sites, and meeting local tourism boards. These trips are often free or heavily discounted. They are a totally legitimate industry standard way for travel professionals to expand their knowledge. And in turn, the advisors are then able to sell a much wider range of destinations. Okay, so now I'm going to share like this little gossipy thing with you. This is sort of insider industry stuff, but I've had so many clients ask me this question. They've said, like, I know this person. She's a, mom of a kid that my kid plays with, and she's a travel advisor and she's flying all over the world. But how does this work? Well, here is one thing. There are a lot of people who are doing very little work, but take advantage of all of the fam trips that are offered. And hey, you know what? If people are doing that, go enjoy. The fam trips are awesome. But I share this also as a prelude to discussing travel influencers, which is to say, what you see online might not actually be what's going on behind the scenes. And so I want to pause here and answer a question that might be coming to your mind. And that is, what is the best option for me? I want to have a great experience. I do not want to get ripped off. I think I can do this myself, but also I don't have the time. And also, I hate being on the hook for so many decisions. So here's the answer. Identify the experience that you want to have. What are the bucket list experiences you absolutely want to have? Not the ones your friends at Pilates told you absolutely must have. If it's not appealing, if it doesn't sound like your vibe, but somebody's like, oh my God, you have to go to this place. Don't worry about that. Ignore them. Identify the trip that you want to have and think about experiences, not just places. I've had people get in touch and, they've listened to a couple of other podcasts and they just start rattling off destinations without knowing anything about them. But they've said, I've heard this is good. When you identify the experiences that you want to have, a good travel advisor is going to tell you the places where they can be best fulfilled. Do you want to eat extremely well? Do you want to see art? Do you want to hike? Do you want to relax? And yeah, you can do all of those things in most places in Italy, but you can do them much better in some specific places. Like if you really want to eat, go to Turin. If you really want to relax, go to Ischia. Do you want to have adventures where you are discovering new things and new people? Go to Le Marche. Go to Calabria. Do you want to be in a place where nobody speaks English and you feel really immersed in the culture? Go to Abruzzo. Or do you want to go to a place where everybody speaks English? Go to Tuscany. Identify your experience. And then number 2, identify your budget. I know you don't want me to say that. You want me to tell you what it's going to cost and then reverse engineer it. I know you're nodding along right now, but no, I'm sorry. It's the wrong approach. That's how you get ripped off. And that's how you make the wrong decision. So be honest with yourself first. What is your overall budget? Let your advisor know. They are not trying to rip you off. They are trying to figure out how to maximize your budget, how to give you the most for what you can afford. Let's move on to travel influencers. Influencers are a pretty new category in the travel world, and they earn their money in a bunch of different ways, which can make things even more confusing. They usually have some sort of hybrid model. Something different is going to work for each person. And what I like about travel influencers is that if you find someone that shares your ethos, you can get some really great tips that are perfect for you. Now, what I don't like about travel influencers is that in order to satisfy the algorithms, travel influencers have to go to the most popular places, the ones that are the most photogenic if they want their content to be shown. And often they have to make these videos about pickpocketing or, things with sort of extremes and warnings and the best and the worst and all of this stuff to get clicks. They have to earn their income. And so, this is why places like Santorini in Greece or Positano in Italy are shit shows. Yeah, I don't normally curse on this podcast, but that's the only word that suits these very overcrowded and overhyped destinations. And many are staying in luxury hotels. If they have a ton of followers, they might be getting free stays. They also have contracts for a certain number of posts for a certain amount of money. And that's where you're going to see, the gorgeous woman in a bikini and the sun hat staring out the window in Positano. And, like everything online, some things are legit, and then some people are just putting on a show. Travel influencers may also earn money through affiliate links, and that could be through platforms like Booking.com, Viator, Get Your Guide. And then here we are, full circle to the travel agency model. Some will offer consultations, others are paid via brand sponsorships. Like I said, everybody's got some hybrid version that works for them. And all of this is again to say, identify the kind of trip that you want, as well as your budget, before you get influenced and overwhelmed. So let me tell you a bit more about my approach. Fam trips are cool, but I choose not to participate in them. And that's just because my focus is narrow and specialized, and I only work in Italy. Italy is my heritage. It's my area of academic expertise, and it's my lifelong passion. I have a master's degree focused on the Renaissance in Naples. I have lived and worked in Italy for many years, and all of the custom itineraries that I put together are done in collaboration with my business partner and my cousin, Ariana. She has worked at other agencies before she launched her own, and together we create all of the bespoke itineraries. Ariana has developed a very deep network of local guides and drivers and hotel owners, and these are folks who consistently deliver beautiful, seamless experiences for our clients. I design the trips, Ariana puts them together on the back end, and then she oversees the detail on the ground. I am constantly writing about Italy, continuing my research, and regularly returning to different destinations to refresh my knowledge and vet new experiences. So this ensures that I'm always recommending places to you that I have personally experienced, or at least one of the guides in our network, somebody that I really trust, has vetted. And our guides are usually reporting in with new finds. Just 2 weeks ago, Ariana and I were in Rome together with Margarita, our Rome guide, and she was introducing us to some new spots. That local familiarity allows me to help clients in ways that require lived experience. So, for example, I suggest booking lunches instead of dinners when traveling through Tuscany because those classic, gorgeous, cypress-lined roads, they are super dark at night, and there are a lot of wild boar, cinghiale, scampering across them. So insights like these come from having driven those roads many times myself. Another tip I always share is there is a gas station right before Naples called the Rest Stop Vesuviano. Get your gas there before returning your rental car to the Naples airport. Some people kind of get upset or really resist when I tell them not to do something for some logistical reason. Kind of interrupts the vision that they have in their head now. But my job is to be very honest with you because I don't want you to have an experience that you're dreaming about and then find out that it's just laden with stress and challenges. Because I take a personal approach, I craft each journey from scratch. And then rather than drawing on a preset itinerary, I really use the relationships that we have with the guides and the drivers and the local hosts. These are built on trust, repeat collaboration, and sometimes inside rates based on other things that we are working on together. So I don't have a fixed price list. When I customize a trip, I don't have, just some price list next to my computer. Everything is completely customized. I also prefer to earn my income directly from clients through fees for my time and research and expertise. I don't rely on large commissions from booking platforms. In fact, I encourage you to book directly with locally owned hotels whenever possible. I mean, I could give you a link through booking.com and I would earn a little bit of a commission there. But honestly, as a small business, I would prefer that other small businesses keep as much of their earnings as possible because that investment supports the communities that you visit. There are a few thoughtful exceptions. For example, when I collaborate with companies that I really like and trust, Context Travel is one example. I've taught and I've guided for them for years, and I still teach online classes for them. And through those bookings, I do receive a small commission. I also get a 5% commission if you want to book a 5-star hotel. I belong to a network, and it gets you complimentary upgrades, early check-in, late checkout, and other amenities when you arrive. And in fact, it just has a login. So if you are booking 5-star hotels anywhere in the world, send me an email. I'll send you the link to create a login, and then you can go ahead and make these bookings yourself or give them to somebody else. If you want one-on-one access with me, you want to sit down and talk about your trip and your trip only, I love doing trip consultations. They are 1 hour on Zoom. Now, often people are concerned that they're not going to have their questions answered in just 1 hour, but believe me, I make sure you have what you need based on the questions you have. If we need to go overtime, we do. But the thing is, I know what questions to ask you, and the things that are jamming you up are things that I deal with all the time. So it's a very focused and productive hour. And it leads me to a new service that I have decided to offer. It's called Custom Itinerary Design. It's a personalized planning service for travelers who want a thoughtfully curated trip crafted just for them. It begins with a 45-minute call with me, and then I turn you over to my new collaborator, Angela, who I'm going to introduce you to now.
In 2023, I took my first trip to Italy. It was about 30 years in the making. As a kid, probably like 9, 10 years old, I became obsessed with Italy. I don't know why, despite my name, I'm not Italian, but I just loved and missed a place I'd never been, and that never left all the way into adulthood. So finally, 30 years later, in 2023, my husband and I were going to take our first trip. It was an 18-day trip, so we just went all in. I absolutely love researching places that I'm going, especially for the first time. I like to learn the history, try to find lesser known places, just really understand the place that I'm going to be. And I love the research that comes with planning a trip. So I, did a deep dive, planned that whole trip, but I still had these lingering questions and just some things I was uncertain about that I really wanted an expert's help on. So I booked a consultation with you, and my husband and I hopped on a call with you, and we had the best conversation. You totally understood what we wanted, and you were able to give us information we didn't even know we wanted or needed, but ended up being extremely useful. You answered all the questions that I had, and it was just like that final peace of mind that I needed before we left on the trip. So we went on the trip. It was amazing. We started in Rome, and then we went to Florence, and then like I said, we like to get off the beaten path. So we were really curious about the La Marche region, and you helped us especially kind of navigate that area. We stayed as a home base in Ascoli Piceno, and then kind of drove all around, all up and down the coast and through the mountains, and went to different wineries and things. And then we drove to Naples, dropped off the car, and spent some time in Ischia. So that first trip didn't quench my appetite at all. It only made it bigger, just made me want to go see more and more and more in Italy. So since then, last year, we went back and visited Naples, Pompeii, and Sorrento. And then earlier this year, I participated in an adult study abroad program in Rome. So I was there for the month of May and into the beginning of June, and explored Umbria on a couple weekends while I was there, and now I am planning another trip for January 2026. So I can't stay away.
Well, and I commend you that on your very first trip to Italy, you took my, the advice of a complete stranger to go to a place called Ascoli Piceno, which nobody has heard of, but is fabulous, as you well know.
It's amazing.
It's
That was the
amazing.
first time I shed tears in Italy. I thought that I would land in Italy and probably just be so overwhelmed because I'd been waiting so long to finally make it to Italy. Standing in the piazza in Ascoli Piceno, it just hit me, and I just started bawling my eyes out just with the realization that I was in this place that had taken so much research, and it was off the beaten path, and not many people talk about it, and it was such a great feeling, that moment.
When you had contacted me earlier this year, you said that you were open to new opportunities. If I needed any help, you were really interested in getting into the travel industry. And I was happy to hear from you, but I was skeptical because I do hear from people a lot who want to get into this industry. And like most of them ghost me, or they are the children of parents who would like their kids to get a job. And then the kids really have no interest. I know you weren't in that category, but nonetheless, I was a little bit of a grain of with a grain of salt. But then was following you on Instagram, and I saw you in Rome shedding tears in Trajan's Market, and I was like, "This is my people." So I just wanted to ask you to tell people what moved you to tears inside of Trajan's Market.
Yeah. Well, it was so the first time my husband and I were in Rome, Trajan's Market was just it was a place I'd read about and heard about while we were there, but it was just a place that we walked by. You know, you only have so many days. I think we had 5 days, and even that, just Rome is too much to cram into 5 days, so you have to kinda pick and choose what you're gonna do. So, we walked past it a lot, we walked around it a lot, and I just never had thought I'd like to go in Trajan's Market. So when I was there earlier this year and I had a month, it allows for more time to go and see more things. And I thought, I'll use a day to go see Trajan's Market. I don't even know if I can describe the feeling, but I just was suddenly overwhelmed that I was in history. I wasn't walking by it. I wasn't looking at it from some overlook or a distance. I was in it. And there's a portion of the area where you're on this road and it looks like this ancient road and the buildings are coming up on either side of you. I mean, it's giving me chills right now just thinking about it. But it just felt so cool to just be in it. And it just, I don't know, moved me to tears.
Rome is such a busy city, and, you have those must-see bucket list things, the Colosseum, the Vatican, of course, and so it could be very easy to just kind of move through Rome and be like, "Click, click, click. I've, seen all the things I'm supposed to see," but it's in those moments, and Rome is just such a weird, like, pastiche of things. I love when you look at a wall in Rome and there's, like, a column stuffed into it, and then there's some brick, and then there's, like, some piece of, Baroque ornamentation that's also on the wall. I mean, it's a hot mess, but
Yeah.
that's what makes it so amazing when you can just truly see all those layers and you have to slow down to really notice them.
Yeah. Oh, Rome is such a patchwork. And like you said, you kind of can walk from place to place, but a lot of the things to see that are just so amazing, you have to go, underground or you have to go inside or, you can miss a lot if you're just walking by to the next checkbox. But yeah, it's a fascinating city.
And it's crazy too how so many, the modern world just abuts the ancient world, like the restaurant I was eating at just recently, a couple of weeks ago, where the wall of the restaurant was actually the Circus Maximus, because that was directly next door, and, just sort of sat there caressing the wall a couple of times in between courses of my dinner.
I do the same things, just touching walls and thinking, how many other people over however many thousands of years have touched this wall or walked in this spot? It's mind-boggling. If you allow
Yeah.
yourself to kinda just sit back and think about that, it'll really blow your mind.
So you really enjoy the nitty-gritty details of trip planning, which is when we began to talk again when I contacted you while you were in Rome. We began to discuss. And my favorite part is, advising on the locations, talking about the history, coming up with podcast episodes. Can you share with us what it is you enjoy about that process?
Yeah, sure. Well, I just kind of realized over the last several years that I really enjoy the research part of a trip and figuring out the logistics and what to see and, even down to where to eat and things like that. And for years I've had friends ask me, they would either just reach out and say, "Hey, I know you've been here before. Can you give me some recommendations for wherever it is they were going?" Or other friends reach out and say, "Can you kind of help me? I'm trying to plan a trip. I'm overwhelmed." And so I kind of realized maybe I have a knack for it, but it's the research, it's the love the idea of helping someone have an experience that is uniquely theirs in a place that a lot of people go based on their own preferences and the experiences they wanna have, or maybe their heritage that they wanna explore, hobbies that they have, or certain things that they wanna see. And then really, like you said, getting into the nitty-gritty details of how to make that happen logistically and how to map out their trip in each day to where it will flow nicely and how they can maximize the time and really just feel immersed in the experience versus worried about where they've gotta go next and, like you said before, checking boxes and then getting home and going, "Well, I feel like I had everybody else's trip, but I don't feel like I had the trip I wanted." I had the Instagram trip.
Yeah. And so many people feel so much pressure. I mean, I was just doing the Q&A for paid subscribers of the podcast last Thursday night, and someone is booking a trip to Cilento, and she said, all the other moms at school are all telling me I'm gonna regret going to Sorrento and not going to Sorrento and Positano, and, like, 3 other people piped up, and they were like, "No, you're not. You're not gonna regret it. Believe me. Just don't
Yeah,
worry
just
about it."
get it. It just and it really just takes just one time of trusting somebody that says, "Just hear me out. Go here instead. I know what you saw on Instagram or wherever, but go here instead." Or, "Go there and see that, but let me also open your eyes to this." And it just takes one time, and I've never heard anyone come back from a trip where they trusted and went off the beaten path or did something that was probably more suited for them and came back and said, "Oh, I didn't like it." I mean, that doesn't happen, That's how you have the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, more often you hear people that say, "Well, I did all the things I was supposed to do," and they were underwhelmed or they were overwhelmed by, like, the crowds or the heat or something like that. I've heard people say, "Well, the food wasn't that good," and then I ask them where they ate, and then they tell me the restaurants that all came from Instagram. I'm like, "Yeah, you did not eat very good food."
Yeah.
I wish I could have told you ahead of time. Those were not good choices.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of places on Instagram, they didn't become Instagram famous for the food. It's the surroundings or the chef or the this or the that. But I mean, honestly, a lot of the best tasting food is not that Instagrammable. It's
No.
a beautiful plate, but it'll change your life?
That is true, is I think especially in Italian food because the best Italian food is usually cucina povera, the poor food, a plate of tripe in Rome. Looks disgusting. It is not photogenic. There are a few dishes. I was photographing some veal saltimbocca that was fairly photogenic, but most things are not. And and a lot of the best destinations are not that photogenic, but they feel wonderful. And you've been to Ischia, and I feel like the Amalfi Coast is so supremely photogenic. And Ischia, I don't know, it doesn't look as beautiful in the camera, but oh my God, when you're there, it is paradise, right?
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. And the cool thing about Ischia is it's so easy to get around. There's a bus system that runs both directions all the time, and you can just get around the island easily, see all the different parts. You can see the sunsets from all the different sides of the island. All the Forio sunsets are like the best sunsets ever. But yeah, there's so much to do there, but it's so digestible and it's beautiful. I mean, absolutely stunning. And it's not covered up with people. There was not
Yeah,
one time that anywhere we went on that island where it was just crowds of people. Now, in the piazzas in the evening, there would be just enough people to make it, like, a lovely experience, and there'd be live music and some dancing and things like that, but no crowds. It was
right.
amazing. Yeah.
And see, now this is why you're going to be my logistics person because I was just talking about how it looks and feels, and you immediately started talking about the buses. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy to have you on board. And my clients, our listeners are hopefully looking forward to meeting you as well. So
Yeah.
we look forward to a busy 2026 trip planning season usually really kicks off in January. So we will be at the ready. But if you want to get a jump on things, you can book your appointment right now on the website and we'll be waiting for you.